refresh the page. And it should show it. There it is.
Okay, stick your hand under the cameras.
Hello, everyone. We're going to give it a few minutes.
Okay, it's a little behind, but that's
Let
fine.
folks join us. And y'all can comment. My husband is with me. He'll be letting me know if anybody asks questions, and I'll be able to answer them live. Welcome to the resin room. We're going to be making Tuxedo coasters using these 4x4 coaster molds. Very small, but they're going to be very elegant looking once they are finished. Try to get these all together so it's easier to pour. Tuxedo coasters are a very simple way for me to start. These are black and white, and they will have a combination of crushed glass and glitters mixed into and placed across the center. Just an elegant little touch. And you can use these at any time of the year, and they lend a nice, comfortable, festive air to whatever you may have going on. I have already pre-mixed 200 milligrams or 200 milliliters of my resin. I use the Epoxy Store resin brand, and it is the Premium Clear Epoxy Resin. This one is part B. I have part A sitting next to it. That is my go-to brand for pretty much everything I do. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to split this 200 milliliters into 2 separate cups to mix my colors. 100 per cup. There's one. And get my little scraper. Turn it this way so y'all can see and I can tell what I'm doing. I am right-handed. There we are. Set that to the side. Wipe up my little mess. I use a shower curtain, old El Cheapo shower curtain liner for my table because everything, once it dries, it peels right off of it. And when I'm tired of it, I can throw it out and put another El Cheapo shower curtain in its place. Always use protective equipment when working with resin. Resin can irritate the skin when it's still liquid. The colors for today, jar, will be Luster Black from Brambleberry. Gives a nice little metallic sheen. And a Super Pearly White Mica from Brambleberry. One. I knew I was going to forget something while I was setting up. And 2. Okay, my little spoons. So, using my little spoons, I'm going to put the amount of mica I need into each one of these. That'll be the white. Set that to the side. And my black. Slightly different spoon, so I have to use 3 scoops instead of just 2. There we are. Now we simply blend these together, try to get all the lumps out. It's kind of like mixing a cake batter, and it takes a little time to do. And yes, working with resin is a messy job. I really enjoy working with epoxy resin. It's kind of soothing in a lot of ways. You can do so much with it, but it's not a hobby that takes 24/7 of your time. It's something that you can work at, rest for a while, work at. You know, you don't have to be constantly at it in order to create something really pretty. That is our white. Now, move that over here and let's mix our black up. When I'm mixing this, I'm trying to do what I can not to add bubbles into the epoxy, because bubbles can mess up a design. There are ways to fix it if you do get bubbles. Sometimes you can spritz it with alcohol after it's mixed. It's easier to do it after it's poured, where you know exactly where the bubbles are. The bubbles will rise. Spritzing it with alcohol makes them come up faster. Or you can use heat. Now, today I'll be using my culinary torch, which is this. And I'm using that simply because these are somewhat small molds. The heat gun that I have has a rather large nozzle on it, and I don't want to overwhelm the molds and possibly burn one. And the little culinary torch is a lot easier to control when I'm working with it. Okay, so we have our black, we have our white mixed. sit. Well, no, I need that. I'm going to pour portions of each into one of the Dixies because it'll make it easier for me to pour using smaller amounts at a time. Oops. And that happens sometimes. So I'll make sure that that side is on the white side. There we go. Okay. So our first job is to do a simple 1-to-1 pour. It's going to be half and half, and I'm going to start the pour in the center. And I've already boo-booed. But that's okay. Boo-booing is part of working with resin. And as you can see, I can push it back over. Just like that. Okay. Yes, I got some of the black over on this side. I'm going to have to... As you can see, this is not a precise thing, and I'm not super skilled at doing this, especially doing it live where I'm shaking like a leaf. That one's doing much better. Now, I'm not filling these molds at all. I'm only doing portions because once I have completed the pour and let it sit, I will be putting a clear coat on top to seal the mold, and that will give a nice glossy finish to the top of the coaster. I'll put a little extra in here just to finish that corner out. Last but never least, use that to push that white back just a little bit. Okay. Now that we've lowered the level on these, I can use these direct to push back a hair. Alright, let's do that with the white. The main thing you're trying to achieve is you're trying to achieve a reasonably straight line. Doesn't have to be perfect. because the center of the line itself will be somewhat hidden by the bling we'll be putting on. If you can see my little star mold in the background, extra resin, I don't waste it. I pour it into this mold and make little stars out of it. So I always keep an extra mold handy, and I mix more than I have to have. It's better to have too much than too little. Because if you have too little, then you got to figure out how to exactly match what you're working with. And while this is black and white, that is not an easy task if you're working with other colors. Especially if you're mixing custom colors, which I do a lot of. Put the rest of the black over here. Oops. Like I said, folks, this is my first foray into live streaming, and I am a little nervous, and I think it shows. Go ahead and finish that. And that extra black, I can literally just push and fill right in. These are silicone molds. They clean like a dream. So you just let the resin harden and it just peels right off. So I apologize for the mess, but it is what it is. So we have finished with those. Now we're going to mix our bling. Now for the bling, I am not using resin. Of all things, I am going to be using Minwax Polyacrylic Crystal Clear. The reason for this is it's very easy to work with, but what it doesn't do is blend with the resins that are already on. And that makes it where the bling actually is easy to work with. So, my old beater spoon, I'm going to put a spoonful in each one of these cups. It does not take much for what we're doing. Now, one of these is going to be gold and silver. The other is going to be black and silver. Actually, I do need one extra spoon for the gold and silver because it's going to take more of it. Okay. So, for my gold and silver, I am using what is called crushed glass glitter. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It's very fine crushed glass. And I can use my little spoon. And I'm going to put quite a bit into this. Yes, resin work is a messy job. Now, to add to that, I am adding a little clear, just straight gold, very fine glitter, just to bump up the gold hints to it. And you can see what that creates. I need to add a little bit more. I don't have quite enough in here. Believe it or not, glitter doesn't go as far as people think, even though when you use it in a house, it usually ends up everywhere. Okay, let me put put a little more of the heavier in it. That's what I want. I want kind of a paste where it's thick so that when I place it, it stays where I put it. So I'm going to just drop dabs of this right down the center. It takes quite a bit to do these. So I'll probably have to mix up another little batch of this before I'm done. And I made a boo-boo. And that's part of being in resin. You're going to make boo-boos. But sometimes the boo-boos come out very pretty. Alright, let me mix some more. I used 6 scoops the first time, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw those in. 5, 6. And then more of my gold. Oh, no, you don't, Karen. Pour a good hefty quantity in there. Like I said, folks, this is my first time doing a live stream. Like I said, if something I do makes you chuckle, that's good. Because if you can't laugh, there's no point to doing anything. You have to be able to enjoy what you do. So I am here to laugh and keep you laughing and keep you entertained as I make a mess. So we have our little gold center on our coasters. Now I know it looks like the gold is disappearing. What it's doing is sinking, but it's not separating, and that's what you want. You don't want it to separate. A sinking is fine, because once these are done and they're flipped over, the design is absolutely incredible. A little bit more. Okay. Now, that we got that, let's put this away so we don't make a mess out of it. Now we are going to swirl back and forth like so. that's just to get that gold to start moving a little bit. Last one. You see, it starts creating a swirl. Okay. Now we add, well, no, first we feather. There we are. Now, for our last Dixie cup, with that little bitty bit that's in there, we are going to use jet black glitter. And I think I'm just going to make it easy on myself and do it that way. And with that, we are going to use this super fine iridescent to give it silver. And that's the effect. Now, yes, I want this super thick, and I'll show you why. I'm not laying a line like I did with the gold. I'm going to just little dabs here and there, and I don't want them to move from where they're at. Just right down the center. See, black and white goes together just as gold and silver go together. So when you add one to each, these technically could be called yin-yang coasters. I like Tuxedo myself. So we made our little line. I'm not going to throw that out yet. I'm going to use the fat end. I was using the point earlier, but I'm going to use the fat end. And I'm going to just a light push to each side. Simple. starting to thicken. The polyacrylic thickens fairly quickly. So what it does is it'll seal in the center of these. And there you have it, folks. Now, as I said, I will add a very thin, clear coat of resin on top of these. I will do that tomorrow, and I will post those as photos attached to the recording of this video so that everybody can see exactly how these came out. Resin typically can take, depending on how you mix it, the way mine is required to be mixed, which is by volume. Resin can take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours to what they call tack set, which is sticky, and it can take 4 to 10 hours when it's this thin to harden completely. So I have to let these harden out, and then I'll put my clear coat on, and we will have finished Tuxedo coasters. I thank you all for joining me, and I will be hoping to do these type of streams more often. As you can see, I'm not a professional. I am a simple person that really gets a kick out of doing this kind of stuff. It's fun to make a mess that you know is fairly easy to clean up. Always a bonus. Thank you for joining Moon's Resin Designs, and I will have the photos of the finished product ready tomorrow afternoon. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening.